Good morning, everyone. We are so excited to be here to have another teacher sharing session. Today, we're going to be hearing from Tenley and Debbie on our primary and elementary piano pedagogy diploma. I'm very excited to see what we're going to learn from you today.
Thanks, Lois. Welcome, everyone. Today, as Lois said, we're going to be talking about one of our many pedagogy diplomas, and this one is the primary and elementary piano pedagogy diploma. We were the first national conservatory to launch this level of diploma in Canada, and the goal was to offer a program for young teachers, new teachers, teachers who want to renew their skills or maybe have been out of the field for a while. We found that at the time that this was launched, even university graduates were coming out feeling like they weren't as well prepared for pedagogy, teaching little people as they had hoped. And so this became a really valuable program in that sense. So it's a 5 credit program. It is a standalone diploma. So that makes it a really nice and unique in itself. The prerequisite to enter this program is grade 8 and grade 2, sorry, my age is showing, grade 8 theory. And of course, to graduate, the co-requisite is a grade 9 piano and the theory and history that corresponds to that as well. In addition to that, we also ask that students do observation. So of the first 4 credits, there is a requirement of 10 hours per credit with an experienced teacher. So credit 1, they could actually do even some class observation, but by credits 2, 3, and 4, it would be private teaching for the level of the credit. And the idea is that teaching probably needs to be looked at a little bit more as new teachers need to practice, they need to observe, they need to think of it almost as an apprenticeship, so that there's always that mentor involved, especially as we know many advancing piano students, teenagers, like to get started with their teaching career at this time, and many of us probably started in our teens and didn't have an opportunity to know how to train. So our students were really the guinea pigs, and it's really nice to know now that we can do something more for the students to provide them with better skills to come into this. So each credit also receives a certificate. So that's really nice too. So your parents, you can hang this on your wall, whatever you want to do with it. But parents and students can see that you are continuing to study, continuing to learn. And as you complete each one, then it's a nice little document to reinforce to the public and to yourself about what you've achieved. The diploma, of course, is awarded once you've completed all 5 credits as well as the co-requisites. And again, I want to remind you that it is a standalone diploma. It does not impact going on to your associate or other levels of study. So Lois, if you can just scroll down, we'll look at the credits. So credits 1 and 2 are basically primary piano pedagogy. And that means credit 1 is first year of study, so the very beginner. Credit 2 is second to third year. There's a bit of a overlap here in that. But what you would do in your second year, possibly moving into the third year, before you would transition into credit 3 and 4, which are elementary piano, meaning that credit 3 is focused on grade 1. So again, mostly could be third year. Some students might not be there until their 4th year. Credit 4 is also elementary and focusing on grade 2. The written paper is the 5th credit. You must do credits 1, 2, 3, and 4 in order. You can do credit 5 at any time, although logically it would make sense that you wait and do that after you've done all of the practical credits. It will just be really clear. A lot of the material overlaps. You can notice again the standard mark, the minimum mark we're looking for with each credit is 70%. With repertoire selections, as with all of our other programs, this is own choice. We do want to see students using some Northern Lights CNCM publications for these credits as well. And the expectation is that the performances, and yes, they're performing these pieces from beginner to grade 2, but we expect there to be a polished performance and to be prepared to discuss pedagogical information about it, as well as composer information. So all of those things will be required as part of it. The time limit for completion of all requirements is 5 years. So certainly ample time for younger students to feel comfortable. You can take more than one credit at a time. Some people have done credit 1 and 2 at the same sitting. They're separate exams still, but they can double them up if they so choose. So they can move as quickly or as slowly as they would like. Hey, Lois, if you would turn to page 2. So the way they work through credits 1 through 4 is they're required to purchase a handbook, and this comes in electronic form, so they can fill it in just using the file that they receive. You just reach out to the office, and that gets worked out in that way. And each handbook is filled with assignments, topics, and then assignments within those topics. So we're going to look at sample pages in a few minutes here, but it really walks the students through what is required. And this handbook will be submitted to the examiner. So if it's a live exam, they will submit the handbook at the examination. That will be retained by the examiner, and then it will be returned to the student with the marking. In the case of online exams, we ask for that handbook to be submitted prior to the examination because we won't have the students' material to look at. We have to be prepared for what they're bringing in. We won't have a hands-on way of looking at what they have actually brought to the examination. And we really encourage them to bring all the material they've been using, lots of things from their library, books that they've really enjoyed, things like that, to the handbook, to that examination. So what happens is they come in with laundry baskets of material, bins full of material, and it's just really exciting to watch how they have probably grown within the development of that particular credit. And of course, this can be scheduled at regular examination time, or it can be scheduled throughout the year at the student's schedule. And the minimum age for graduation is 16. So obviously students can start a little bit earlier, but they will not be graduating until they turn 16. So we're trying to send a message that we want them to be a little more mature before they might be starting teaching and develop these skills. Doesn't mean they can't, but that would be our recommendation. When they're working on their handbooks as well, what can happen, I'll just make a point of this, that with the topics and assignments, the younger students will probably work regularly with their teacher on this. But a more mature student who could certainly work independently and may want to just find a coach to chat with on different things, or perhaps hire someone to just look at what they're researching. What do you think of this? So they could do it on a more sort of, I don't mean to say it's sporadic, but less scheduled format as well to be able to achieve this. So it doesn't have to be rigid in any way. Mature students have done it independently often, and we welcome that as well. So you can put any of your questions into the chat, and I'm going to turn this over to Tenley, and she's going to run you through some of the sample pages and table of contents of the handbooks. Tenley?
Thank you, Deborah. You can see there the credit overview. We're just going to touch briefly on a few of the assignments in each of the credits to give you an idea. The exam length of each credit, 1 through 4, is 90 minutes, and a minimum of 70% is required to pass, as has already been mentioned. And also mentioned is that this first credit is focused on the beginner student in the first year of study. So you see the minimum marks there that are required to meet the 70%. And Lois, let's take a look at the table of contents on the next page. This is the table of contents for the first handbook, and we're just going to touch on a couple of each credit. As you can see, we cover a multitude of topics, virtually everything that is needed to run a piano studio. I always say these handbooks are such an aid to teachers. It's kind of what some of us figured out by trial and error many decades ago, but I think this is just a wonderful overview. You can see that we touch on the piano and the first lesson and the business of teaching. There are reading assignments, and we're going to look at, on the next page, there's an in-depth study of beginner method books. And we all know there's so much out there. And the first handbook requires the candidate to analyze in depth 3 different method series. And what we're showing you here as examples are just a very small portion of the examples that are listed in the handbook. And of course, there could be more. We know there are more. The ask is just that the 3 methods that you choose not all be the same. You wouldn't choose 3 middle C approaches. So to choose 3 different method series to analyze, and one of those must be by a Canadian. And interestingly, you can choose 3 method series that you would like to use. We've also had candidates choose one of the 3 that they know they probably would not use, but have selected it because they know that that's a method that has been taught in their area, their geographic area, and want to be ready for the transfer students that they know they're going to receive. So with each method, there are a number of topics that are going to be analyzed. If you could scroll to the next page, Lois, this is what some of the charts look like, or this is what the charts look like, and here are some of the topics. It's a very specific look at what each method does, and it provides the candidate not just with the knowledge, but also a lot of confidence knowing exactly what's in these method series. So this is just a sampling. The teaching approach, you analyze the style, the assessment, the strengths and weaknesses. And in this sampling, you see that the artwork is analyzed, the note size and spacing, the white space, clarity of instructions, rate of progression, clarity of new topics and visual aids, language, definitions, and so much more. Memorization is covered, reading, and offering compensations for weaknesses. It's not just addressing the weaknesses, but also to be ready to offer compensation and also supplemental material. So that's a very brief look at credit 1. Credit 2 is now the primary, as Deborah mentions, second, third year, possibly more, but this is still considered pre-grade. So not the beginning year, but the pre-grade. So in the first credit, you analyze the first book in each of those 3 methods series. In this credit, you analyze books 2 and 3 of those same 3 methods so that there's some continuity and you can sort of see how the course develops. Again, the marking system is the same, and the length of exams and the fact that this covers pre-grade, which would be second or third year, and possibly even more. The next page is the table of contents for credit 2. So you can see the continuation of credit 1 in the selected method book series. And also in this credit, they analyze an adult method book. So that's also important to be on top of. Solfege is addressed in this with a transfer student. All our favorite topics, theory, peddling, again, reading assignments. And if you go to the next page, Lois, thank you. The early childhood music programs, you can see the list of them. Candidates are asked to select one to analyze, but they can certainly take a peek at more of them. This assignment develops new teacher or any teacher awareness of programs which might become feeder programs for your own private studio. We can have transfers from any of these programs, and it's great knowledge to have an understanding of each of these. But again, it's only one that's required for analysis. So one of the Northern Lights CNCM mandates is the promotion and development of Canadian music. So all of the credits include Canadian content assignments, and these are a lot of fun. And again, we're back to, we are Canadian teachers teaching Canadian kids and adults. And if we don't promote Canadian content, no one else will. And I think we all know we have so many wonderful composers writing for our students. This is just a really enjoyable assignment. So the student or the candidate selects and prepares for performance and discussion 10 different works by a minimum of 5 different Canadian composers. And then you would complete this chart for each of them, also with the age group, whether it's more suited to 5 to 7-year-olds, 8 and 9-year-olds, or 10 to 12-year-olds. And of course, these selections must differ from those presented in credit 1. It's very helpful to have charts like this at your fingertips, say when you're dealing with an 11-year-old. So I think it's really nice to have the information for the different age groups and to have that ready to go. So it's the title, the composer, meter, key, tempo, the age groups, and stylistic comments. And then on the next page, we don't have an example of the chart here, but there is also a chart that would be prepared for each composer. And that includes a short biography that's suitable for the beginner of the age that you've selected. And hopefully with a picture of the selected composer, and then biography pages and charts are included. And then we have credit 3, again with the same basic information as we had for the others. This credit now is specifically targeted to grade 1 students. It's the elementary credit. And on the next page, you'll see the table of contents for this credit. Now the candidate will analyze levels 2 and 3 in their chosen adult method series. Again, you can see all the topics: transposition, technique, peddling. Highlighted peddling because we're going to take a look at peddling on the next page. So in credit 2, the peddling assignment was about continuous pedal, which you would see in pre-grade music. And in credit 2, the ask is now and the evolution to legato pedals. Legato is syncopated pedaling. So now you choose 10 pre-grade 1 to grade 1 works that utilize legato pedaling. And again, the charts that accompany. And these would require, like in the discussion, we would want to hear approaches used, values for this approach for a young student, and to prepare an actual demonstration for this style of pedaling, because of course that's what we would do in studio. And then if we continue at the bottom of this page, in this credit, we continue the Canadian composers, and there's actually an assignment to prepare a page for each of these Canadian composers. Even just this sampling of these 7 is coast to coast, and some who are still living, some who are not. So it's a really good cross section of composers, for which there would be a short biography prepared, a picture, a list of their elementary piano repertoire, including publisher names and dates of publication, so that all of these analyses equip the teacher for quick references in the studio. And now the credit overview for credit 4. And this one addresses specifically the grade 2 level. There's all of the same criteria there. Next page is the table of contents for credit 4. As you can see, we continue pedaling with rhythmic pedaling, continuation of Canadian composers, Canadian content, also analyze Baroque dances at this level, impressionistic music, of course, topics of improv, memorization, irregular and changing meter. It's just a really all-encompassing program. And then, we wanted to show you one sampling of one of the reading assignments. I think there are typically about 3 books suggested for each of credits 1, 2, and 3. There are 4 for credit 4. And these books are just collectively a wealth of information on pedagogy topics. And of course, we encourage to continue to read as many pedagogy books as possible. But if you're adding 1 book to your library this year, I would recommend Nancy Telfer's Making Music Come Alive. This is just an amazing text and resource for teachers teaching all ages and all levels. And Nancy has such a wonderful way of presenting in a very simple way. It's like, why didn't I think of that, right? I think you'd really enjoy that book, and it's really done well. So for each of the books in all of the reading assignments, the assignment would be to include a summary and to discuss the pros and cons of each book, strengths and weaknesses of the pedagogical concepts. And again, I hear from teachers who are in this program how beneficial these books are. And then that's sort of a brief overview of the handbook assignments. And then on the next page, we have an overview of credit 5, the written paper. And as Deborah mentioned, of course, this can be done at any time in the process. But when you look at this list, and this is only a partial list, you can see why it might be best to do it at the end of the other 4 credits, because I think the other 4 credits really provide the knowledge and confidence to do this credit. Overall, I think there's so many positives about the program. It does develop knowledge and confidence in teachers. It also provides skills of analysis and diagnosis, skills of problem solving, and solutions. I know this has been a really quick look, but we wanted to provide some time for any questions or any of these topics that you'd like to talk about some more, or maybe some of the ones that we haven't addressed. Or Deborah, if you had anything more to add. Can't see the chat from here, so I don't know if there's any questions. I haven't come across anyone who has done this program and said, well, that was a waste of time. It's been so beneficial, and very often those who come through this program can't wait to get into the associate credits.
Tenley, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if you could see my hand up. So,
Yes.
so I've done the program myself, like as a older teacher, and I'm wondering if, in approaching this with like a younger potential pedagogy student, would you work through the handbook in order, or would you have like a bit of a mix of like topics for them to be approaching?
Are they starting teaching, or have they been teaching already?
She's talking about teaching, so she hasn't like.
I probably should be looking at starting with the beginners, right? Like the beginning
Yes.
level. So I
Well,
would
hopefully.
I would recommend doing credit one first. I think it just makes sense. And if
Right.
the
But I mean, like
contracts,
in that credit, in that handbook, would you work through
within
that
yes.
like
Oh,
in
within the
order, or
handbook.
would you like mix up some of the topics so that they're like.
That you can do. You can mix up those topics. I would suggest getting right into the beginner methods, though. Get started on that, and maybe
Sure.
have the reading, on her bedside table or something to start the reading. But yeah, you can mix up the assignments. I think
Okay.
the beginner method. There's a lot of charts for, like, there's a lot to fill in and a lot of topics for each of three method books. So I'd get into that because she's going to want to start thinking about which method she'd like to use for her beginners, right?
Right. Right. So,
But yeah,
and
you can mix up the order of them just as long as by the time it's time for the end that she's got them all.
yeah, I mean, I've never taught like a pedagogy
Yeah,
student before, right? But
I would also recommend, Laura, that maybe your student chooses their repertoire selections as well early so that they have that. And because you can't underestimate the need to have those polished. Like, we think of them as so simple, but they need to be more than sight reading when they come
right.
in. So,
Yeah.
uh, and
Okay.
so that's a fun place to start as well, and have
Well, and
them.
that's what I want her like we have talked about method books um and like the different approaches to methods and ages and stuff, but it all feels a little like out there. Right, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like, until she's actually teaching, it doesn't really feel applicable. But I like that idea, Debbie, of just like, okay, so go pick 10 Canadian pieces and dig in.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
for
and I
credit one,
think
I think they just need 5 for credit one to
Go
get
five. Okay.
started. So, but yes, like to do that fun part and then to start into the beginner methods
Hmm.
and again, like Debbie says, the polishing, yes, of those 5 pieces, but they also need to prepare the duet parts for all of the methods that they do. So there's lots of practicing involved, and that part is fun.
yeah, and I think that
At the same time as learning all your grade 8.
Yeah,
but I also think, Laura,
Or
when you
9.
talk about that idea of it feeling like it's out there, that's what the handbook does for you.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
she can definitely choose where she wants to work on things. I also think while she's picking other things, start with the method books, start with because that's ongoing. It's not going to happen overnight. And the reading assignment, just have a few of those. Do one at a time of those,
Sure.
and
Yeah. Okay.
then skip around however she likes. But
Right.
certainly choosing the repertoire is a great place and fun place to start as well. But that's why I think, and as you know, I think that's the great thing about this program. The answers aren't given, and we don't have an answer book because we want them to discover, right?
Right. Right. So
But at least in a program like this, there's a place to go all the time, right?
yeah. Right. Like it's like I've recently pulled out my binder, which is over on
Yeah.
the piano bench right now. I'm not going to lift it up of my own handbooks, and yeah, like it's a big one. And so we just ordered those handbooks. Just email Ruth,
Yes, just email Ruth.
and then it's a download. Okay.
Yes,
So
yes.
I also was wondering, as I looked through it in the last couple of weeks, is there? I think I saw from the one screen image there that the readings have been updated. Like
In
not
some places, yes,
it's some, yeah.
yes. And we're actually looking at some of these things this year as well. So you want to check. Um, there's going to be a few changes that are not in the current handbooks, but are coming
Okay.
for the summer. So we can, and you can still use what we have, and then just check if there's been any changes, because we know that's the kind of the time frame for at least the first few to get a few things changed in
Okay.
them. Okay?
So the handbook really is like the syllabus, like the curriculum,
Yes.
right? Like I have the syllabus, but it's not like
Yeah, it's the handbook is the curriculum for the student.
right.
Like,
So if we ordered that, like if I ordered that this week from Ruth,
mhm.
um, and have my student working on it, then I just email Ruth and say, are there any updates? Like,
Yeah, yes, she'll let you know if anything. Tell me, I think I'm correct. Is there's nothing in credit one that's changing, right?
I don't think so. And
I
I
think
was
it's
going to
like
say too,
ones.
I was going to say too, some of the reading assignments show books that have been from quite a ways back, like
yeah.
they're older books. And if you can't get them, we actually have stockpiled some of those. So just contact the office. We have some
Okay.
of those available to send out.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was looking through and I'm like, I know I did this like, I don't remember, 10, probably more than 10 years ago, right? And so I'm like, I wonder if those little pamphlets are still available, but yeah. So,
Even though some of them have been written a long time ago, there are still some really valuable tips and
oh,
things.
for sure. And very approachable for a young teacher to
Exactly.
take and apply, right? And
Yeah.
make sense of. So, yeah.
They're all very easily understandable. There's nothing so academic that it's just like, oh, I can only read one page and have to put it down. It's like you want to read it. It's easy to understand.
Okay. So, oh, I like Cheryl's question. I'll stop talking and let you answer that.
What's the question, Lois?
Yeah, we just have a quick question. Um, is there an enrollment process, or basically the commitment is independent, and then in brackets, or at the teacher's guidance until the exam is booked?
It is at their own discretion. Basically, download the syllabus from the website, order the handbook from the office, and up until that point, that's all you have to do. Start to work on the program. Let us know when you're getting close to wanting to apply for the examination, so that we can set if it's online or if it's live, when would we have to receive your handbook, and we can work out all of that schedule for you. And so there's really, it's entirely up to you and or your teacher that you're working with or coach. But lots of people, you know, get started, and summertime's a great time sometimes for private teachers to get a great deal done on this. And so it really is, you set the timeline. Just don't surprise us with saying, I want to take the exam in 4 weeks, because A, we have to make sure it limits our examiners because not all of our examiners do pedagogy exams. So we have to know we have an examiner. We have to, if it's online, get that handbook sent to us, upload it to us, and so on. So that takes a little bit more time. So you be aware that as you're getting close, you're letting us know that this is going to happen in the near future. So.
But of course, you can take as much time with that first credit as you want because the clock doesn't start ticking on the time limit until that first exam. So, you download it and you get going and you have a break in there somewhere or something happens. Like you're not under the gun when you order that handbook. Like you just, that timeline only begins at the first exam.
Perfect. And then there is one more question, just if we can share the document, and I assume that will just be going out with the link to the recording of this session.
It will, yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, and it's just, like I said, it's just a smattering of each credit. So if you want to see it in depth, just order the first handbook. I think they're only $20. Is that right, Deborah?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. And then away you go and have your fun.
Perfect. Are there any?
So a student can apply after they have completed the theory and the grade 8 co-requisite or
But
prerequisite.
but can be working on it prior to that.
Sure.
Ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they start is entirely up to them. They don't have to have their grade 8. They have to have that to do the examination. So.
Yeah. Great, thanks.
And just to clarify that too, that's a good point that you brought up, Laura. They can complete the entire diploma. They will not be issued the diploma unless their grade 9 and the grade 9 co-requisites are completed. So until they complete that diploma will not be issued. They can do all 5 credits, but that will be part of the 5 years as well. So they have to be aware of that they want to make sure that gets held back until the grade 9 is finished. So.
Perfect. Any last questions for today? That was a really great presentation. Thanks, Debbie and Tenley. And perfect timing before the summer if you're, planning to be bored or something.
Does that happen, Lois?
Maybe for other people. I don't know. I don't think I quite understand the definition of that, but perfect. Okay. So that wraps up this session on the primary elementary pedagogy program. Stay tuned for more information about our pedagogy programs. And also, we are very excited to let you all know that Seasons Level 3 is posted and available and ready for purchase on Harbridge Wanless Music. This is very new, like you are the first people to know about this. So that's very exciting. And Tenley and I will be doing a little bit of a session on that in August. So stay tuned for that. And have a wonderful summer until we see you all again.